Welcome back to Voodoo Family Travels. I'm Greg.
And I'm Val.
Join us today
At Windsor Castle in
the
England.
town of Windsor today. The castle. Tour around the city.
People always say, there is one useful one, which is 28 Celsius apparently.
Windsor Castle is the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. Founded by William the Conqueror in the 11th century, it has been home of 40 monarchs. Queen Elizabeth grew up here and spent the majority of her childhood at the castle. We visited in summer of 2022, and the Queen was here when we were.
Heading into
Not yellow.
Windsor Castle. I'm not sure what all we can video yet. I know they said we cannot film inside the state apartments, but we can do the outside of the grounds.
Look, it's the thing to cut the grass.
It's a robot that cuts the grass.
That's cool.
Oh my God. The technology.
You can buy it.
Robot cutting the grass.
They're so quiet.
It is really quiet.
They don't cut the grass.
Everything's uphill walking.
Don't help. Where's my carriage? Nobody says keep off the grass. Right in front of me. Look, the lights have little crowns on them.
Guys, coming along here in the line, this is to get the audio, guys. So grab those. I know, a short one though.
It's a little bit different. Let's make our way up here. You can see that the Queen buys the best hats in the world. John Deere later.
So those are the two classic motifs of medieval castle architecture. Now, forgive me for hustling you a bit, but we're going to head straight down the hill, so we're in good position to watch the arrival for the car.
You're missing half the Queen's thing on that one. The red ball. I'm just digging the small part on that one.
So, come this way now.
So that's the older part, that's the newer part.
No. Well, this was an option, but we didn't do the options last time.
वो आ रहे हैं वो चेंज ऑफ गार्ड चेंज ऑफ गार्ड
Just that.
So they're coming through the gateway here. So this is a really good spot. You'll see them approaching the guards, which is the Canadian bearskin hat, a royal red woolen tunic, and black woolen trouser with boots. Now, can you think of anything less? St. George is everywhere. The English flag is a red cross on a white background, which is the cross of St. George. The Union flag is the cross of St. George superimposed on the cross of St. Andrew, which is the national flag of Scotland. You put those two together and you get the Union flag. Now, the St. George's Chapel was built over 550 years ago, so it's the 1400s, and it is the chapel, the spiritual home of the Order of the Garter, which is the highest order of knights in England.
Everyone is aware during guard change, you cannot...
There you go, guys. How was that? So, what I was telling you earlier, down at the bottom of the hill, this is the original fortress. And who built this?
William the Conqueror.
Very good. William the Conqueror. So shortly after the invasion in 1066 and the conquest, this is just one of a network of fortresses built around the Tower of London. So the way they built their castles, and originally it was in wood, remember, but then later in stone, they dug out a ditch to create a mound, and then they put the castle on top of that. So what they're counting on for defence is not water. There was never water down there. Okay. It's elevation.
You can climb up.
Exactly. You've got the advantage of height as the defender. And for the attacker, it's very difficult to attack when your enemy is above you. They have all the advantage because gravity is helping them. You know, they can throw things down at you and fire arrows down at you. It's much harder to shoot upwards. Now, you'll notice as well that the castle is built on the fortified gate here, but Windsor was never captured. And in fact, in the Middle Ages, the advantage held by the defenders totally outweighed the attackers. So castles were very rarely breached. Do you know why they mainly were taken? Siege. You starved people out. And that's the way that they usually worked, because they were just so well built. They couldn't be... And the Queen spent the Second World War here as a child. She was evacuated here with her sister, Princess Margaret. Right, so let's carry on. Show you where the Queen lives.
Right.
I know, don't worry, I'll always find the shade where possible. It's just daft to stand unnecessarily in the sun. So guys, come in nice and close. Go on, come in a wee bit closer, and then the people behind can come in. That's lovely, thank you. Now, first of all, I came here because I want to show you the upper ward. Now the upper ward, so you've seen the lower ward, the middle ward, and now the upper ward is dominated by this area with a green lawn called the quadrangle. The Queen's private apartments are on the far side. That long side on the opposite side of the grass is where the Queen is right now. The royal family also occupy the short side there in the distance, and the third side is the side that you're going to visit. It's where the state apartments were built. Now, you see the gentleman on horseback? He's wearing a Roman toga, but he's not a Roman. That is King Charles II, the Merry Monarch, who became king when remember I told you about Charles I getting his head chopped off? Civil War? Well, they decided that then they wanted a monarchy again. So they went to Paris and they said to his son, also Charles, who was living in exile there, sorry about your dad, would you come back and be king? To sort of, pick up as if nothing happened, and he went, yeah, all right then. So it didn't quite happen like that, but you get the gist. It's the restoration of the monarchy. So he never wore Roman gear, but during his reign, he wanted to emulate his cousin, Louis XIV of France, who lived in great splendor in Versailles. So he transformed the medieval fortress into a sumptuous palace. And the emphasis was no longer on military defense, it was on comfort and luxury. Now the furniture and much of the interior will remind you of Versailles if you've ever been there, or you've seen sort of French style furniture and whatnot. And listen, it is covered with works of art, paintings. It's like visiting one of the best art galleries in the world. And the extra little frisson here is that if the president, for example, of the United States comes on a state visit, and they come and stay here, this is where they stay, in these rooms that you're going to visit. Now the largest of the rooms is called St. George's Hall. There's St. George again, St. George's Chapel. St. George is the patron saint of England, remember? And in that hall, you will see the coat of arms of every single knight who has ever been a member of the Order of the Garter since it was founded in 1348. Look at the ceiling of the St. George's Hall and you'll notice some of the timbers are very badly deformed. And the reason is, November 1992, a fire started in a private chapel down at the far end there, the corner, the sort of bottom corner on the left-hand side. They were restoring a lot of paintings and they were using chemicals to do that are highly flammable. And they were stored in a small chapel, and somebody left a halogen spotlight in contact with a curtain, and the heat from the lamp caused the fabric of the curtain to ignite, started a fire. Because the chapel was full of highly flammable chemicals, there was very soon a raging fire out of control. Luckily, this happened at about 11:30 in the morning, so it was detected quickly. There were lots of people here, and all the paintings, which normally would have been impossible to remove because they'd be high up on the wall, had been taken down and were leaning against the wall. So that was fortuitous. So they literally just dragged everything out onto the grass and dumped it. And luckily it wasn't raining. It was not a nice morning. I remember watching it. It was grey, but it was not wet. And they just piled all the furniture and the carpets and the paintings, everything just piled up on the grass there. The fire raged for about 16 hours until the fire brigade got it under control. They poured the equivalent of 2 seconds worth of the water flowing over Niagara Falls over Windsor Castle. And in fact, the water damage was more serious than the fire damage. And they had to wait 4 years before they could start the restoration of the castle because everything had to be blown dry. So what they did in St. George's Hall, do you remember those deformed bits of wood? They put in as many of the original timbers as they could from before the fire, and that's why it's all a little bit uneven. Now in that college chapel, now Eton is one of the top private schools in England. Confusingly, we call private schools public schools. It's because there was a Public School Act and they defined what these schools were in the 19th century, but they are very private and very expensive. So to send your child to Eton,
Thank you again for watching Voodoo Family Travels. If you hadn't already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our videos. I'm Greg.
And I'm Val. See you again soon.